I accidentally just bought this 82 R100 RT, I think it is. I plan on riding it in the 1.5 Grand Tour in Missouri at the end of August. After which, hopefully at the end of the ride, I will sell it for 1,500 bucks. If you want it, come buy it. It's got new tires, new battery, new exhaust valves. Transmission's been gone through, new front brake stuff, other odds and ends. It's pretty sweet. Hopefully I don't fall in love with it. Time for my first actual ride with it. Runs okay. I think the idle is a little high once it gets warm, but seems pretty decent. Just took it on a 150 mile or so loop. It was filthy when I got it, and I knew it was gonna rain on this ride, so I didn't bother washing it beforehand, but now it's time. If I'm really serious, I might wax it. Maybe not. If I end up keeping this bike, I'm gonna get rid of these choke pole things. It's kind of cheesy. I kind of doubt that's supposed to be a bolt. Usually they're a grease fitting. I should have a few of those shafts. The main problem with this is the key will not come out. Whoa, got a sympathetic start there. Anyways, I can tell this is a replacement key. I wonder if they just cut it to the wrong shape and jammed it in there, and who knows. I also need to investigate the high beam switch is like not good. Need to figure out what's going on there. Could have got like a new clutch cable. That's not great. I should have a few used ones. I'm probably gonna see if I have some used hoods. It just always looks incomplete without these, but even more so without the tank badges. If I have some on the shelf, I might add them. I don't want to buy any just yet in case this bike does sell. If I'm motivated, I'll take off these bar and turn signals, save them for my Slash 2, and put on a pair of my pile of black plastic turn signal housings up front. Out in the middle of nowhere in Illinois, and the clutch was getting harder to operate. As I was riding, I was having to just back this out more and more to compensate for that. I kind of assumed this was happening, and yeah, this adjuster is just totally loose. Figured I'd pull over and fix this before this actually backs out. That's enough to get me in the ballpark. Same here. When I left my house this morning, the front brake wasn't really working. Wasn't there. Figured I'd ride it, shake some bubbles loose, see if it starts working. It kind of does, but I'm probably going to need to bleed it when I get home. So it's doing this thing again where there's like no brakes. And if I ride around enough, it'll build up brake pressure again. And I can brake, but there's nothing going on with these brakes. That's a little bit dirtier than I would like, but I'll try to bleed the brakes and see if that helps. So when the master cylinder was bolted to the handlebar, the piston would barely move. Now it feels beautiful. I can feel it building up pressure. So there must be that seal looks kind of chewed up. So maybe that's just dragging on that seal and it's not returning. Seems like there's some shenanigans going on here. That doesn't look right to me. So I was doing some digging and pulled this out of the handlebar itself. Looks old and crusty. Maybe they just doubled up the seals. Maybe there's only supposed to be one. I'll have to do some research. So I pulled out this spring from this side. It went around that. I might leave this and one of the seals and the bent washer out and see how it feels. That feels much better. It was just seized before. That's nice. That's how it should have felt. The whole time I've had this, the brakes end up being okay, but they've always felt pretty wooden. It's because that plunger wasn't able to move. Now it can move, now it can brake. So it turns out that you don't need this random assortment of stuff in there. Now it has some feeling. One thing this bike needs is luggage. It did come with this Reynolds luggage rack. No bags though. And this is for the style with the hook and not the seatbelt. I don't have any of those hook bags, but I do have this identical, almost, Reynolds 291 rack for an RS and RT. And it has these seatbelt style latches. It doesn't have the rear rack, so it'll have those two arms sticking up. Maybe I have one of those laying around somewhere, but in the meantime, I'll at least have somewhere to put my regular Krauser bags. And while I was going through parts and discovered that rack, I discovered the correct choke cable that I had an extra of. This almost seems brand new, and it's certainly better than the cable that's on there. So do I replace it now, or do I wait for that one to break? That wouldn't be good. I might replace it when I'm doing the turn signal swap. But for now, I'm going to probably clean these up a little bit. I just did the rattle can rebuild on these. I cleaned them off decently well, and then just spray painted them black. I got the rack installed. I dug through my pile of turn signals and whatnot. I pieced together these two and these. This is kind of messed with, but I don't know how they stay put on the stalk. These kind of just flop around, rotate. Maybe I can put like some electrical tape on there and jam it on. But anyways, I'm going to replace these bar ends with those. I've never messed with one of these, so this is new. Took that plug out of the end, and the bulb kind of wants to push out. Took the lens off, and now... So pull the bulb, pull the lenses, slide this copper connector out of the plastic piece. Then you have a set screw that can loosen the wire. Then you can remove those pieces and the spring. Now you should have some pretty clear access to that lock nut inside there. It has an offset flat so that you don't smash the wire as you're tightening or loosening it. I got it mostly loose, in fact all the way out, and then back in a couple threads. Then I tapped the end of the screwdriver just to decouple that wedge connection. Alright, just unclip this dash pad. I think the purpose of it was to kind of hide what the guy had done to the wiring, which, yeah. If you're going to do some weird wiring, why use red tape? Why not use black? Yeah, what is going on with all this? Okay, so that's the bar end stuff. Should be able to just pull that out. So that harness went to this, which has been dumbed down to just 2 wires for the turn signals. This I would have thought came from the headlight, but it goes down along the frame, so that's great. Well, that's odd. Seems like I'm letting the juice out of the cable. Why is there juice in the cable? Alright, this is the first time I've had the tank off. Looks like some repaint is going on. Guessing some brake lines leaked and rusted some things. I don't know how to separate this harness from the rest of it. I guess I see why they did what they did, except why did they choose the bar ends instead of just some regular turn signals? So way down in there, yeah, right about there, I can see the hole to feed the turn signal harness. So this is what was all tied up under red tape. There it is. All right, throwing these bad boys on. Where is it? Where's that pin? Actually, I guess it's missing that roll pin. Huh. Since it didn't need these, it didn't need that, I guess. Well, that's another reason I'll have to come back in here. Whatever, they're going on for now because the ride is in a day and a half. I got the cheesy spliced wires run. If I keep this bike, I'm going to redo this. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Perfect. Time to replace this clutch cable while I'm here. Well, it's good that I did this because this ferrule was almost broken all the way through, and just touching it, it just split in half. Well, here's my 77 RS. I'll liberate this ferrule for now. I kind of thought that ferrule was the wrong one, and this just confirms it. That could have been disastrous in just a few more uses of the clutch. This one looks a little bit more substantial. Hopefully it's not too big to fit in that lever. It fits beautifully. Just did a victory lap. I do need to adjust the clutch, but it wasn't that far off. Turn signals worked fine. I think I'm good. Well, the bike made it home from the ride. On morning 2 of the ride, the bike's battery was dead. And thankfully we had a support truck following us that had a 110 outlet and a battery charger. So during the longer stops, I would just plug into his truck and charge the battery. That got me through the entire event. So the symptoms are the gin light isn't coming on, either with the key on or at idle. It's just always off. The entire weekend was maybe 600 miles or so, and I'm at probably somewhere over 3,000 miles on this thing. So we did maybe 20 or so miles of gravel. It's dry and dusty. I had one casualty, which is this jacket. Might be able to fix it, but I've never done this before. I melted it on the exhaust pipe. The ride ends where everyone is able to buy each other's bike for $1,500. And I neither sold nor bought a bike. So it looks like I'm keeping this one. And now that I am going to keep this bike, at least for another year, I'm going to make it a bit nicer. I'm going to fix the stupid choke stuff, and now I have to fix the charging. That'll be in the next video.